How y'all doing today? In today's video, I'm going to talk about starting my first business and all the lessons I learned with it. So I say around 2022, I was like, I want to start a business. So I think we've all been down this rabbit hole where it's like you on YouTube and you looking up different ways to make money, or you on Google and you like different business ideas. But I ain't really know what I wanted to do. So I was listening to this podcast. It's called the Side Hustle Show. And in the podcast, you had this dude, and he's interviewing these different entrepreneurs on their side hustles and their businesses. And I came across episode 294. How to start an online store with no ideas and no inventory and still sell 300,000 in your first year. That was my first lesson. I didn't understand the difference between revenue and profit. When I seen that 300,000 number, I'm like, I'm about to be rich. But that's revenue. His business, he was doing drop shipping, so he made about 10% of this, which is 30,000. That's still a lot of money, but in my head, there was a $270,000 difference. I ain't understand it at first. I ain't gonna lie. And then if you go on YouTube, how to start a drop shipping business, look at all the thumbnails: 3 million, 65,000, 474,000, 238,000. But that's all revenue. That is not all the money that they're making. That's what the business is making. I didn't understand that at first. So I listened to the episode and he's talking about how he's doing drop shipping. And I explain the business model in a second. But throughout the episode, I was like, this makes so much sense. For one, it didn't cost that much to start. You only needed like $500 to $1,000. And I was like, that's cool because the average business costs a lot of money to start. You gotta take out a loan or you having to put up a lot of your money. I ain't wanna go through that. So 500 to 1,000, that was cool. And for two, he was only working from his computer. So he never had to meet anybody in person or he never had to go do this and do that. He was only in his computer. I was like, yeah, that's cool. So throughout the interview, he was talking about the course he had took. And I was like, let me go check this out. So I go to the course and I took the free training. And I was sold. I ain't gonna lie. So obviously the free training was free, but the course did cost some money. It had cost around, I want to say about 1,500. And I bought it. Two reasons. I sort of kind of felt like I needed like a step-by-step example of how to set up a dropshipping business. I didn't know what I was doing. And two, if I'm gonna pay 1,500 for something, I felt like I know I'm gonna put the work in. Like I ain't about to just play around with it. So I bought the course, and it in the course it gave you 7 steps of how to set up a dropshipping business. So in the beginning, he's talking about the business model, and you setting up your LLC and things of that nature. So I'll show you how the business model works. So with dropshipping, you're playing a middleman with products, and not just any type of dropshipping. This was high ticket dropshipping, so you're selling expensive products online. So customer, well, let me explain it. You create a website with the products on there. Customer comes to your website and buys the products. So you have to ask suppliers that actually make these products, can you sell them on your website? So customer comes to the website, buys the product, you let the supplier know, and the supplier ships the product to the customer. You drop the order to the supplier, and they ship it, drop ship. And then just showing you an better example of like how it works. Let me see. See if I can find one for y'all. So let's say customer comes to my website, they buy the AVFI Slim Lightning. They pay $13.99. I let my supplier know he might charge me $600 for that Lightning. You get why I'm making money? So, like I said, that's the business model. And then also in the beginning of the course, you set up your LLC. Another lesson I learned. When I set up my LLC, I was using my personal address, which is not that big a deal, but it could be because that's public information. I should have used the P.O. box. So if you think about setting up like a business and anything, consider using a P.O. box because like I said, if you use your personal address, it's public information. Anybody could look that up. So got the business model down. We setting up the LLC. So then we set up the website. No, not the website. You trying to figure out which product you want to sell. They call it a niche. The product I ended up selling was podiums, and I explained how I came across that. So you're doing exercises where you're coming up with all these expensive products that you could possibly sell, and you got to put them through all these tests. Like you can't just drop ship anything; they got to pass all these tests. And podiums ended up passing the test actually. And just being honest, it was a tedious process because I felt like if I picked the wrong product to sell, essentially my business is not gonna work from the beginning. So it did take me a long time, but eventually, like I said, I picked podiums. So after you pick your product, then you build your website. And they give you like step by step on how to build your website. I've since sold this business, but whoever bought it, they didn't change nothing. So this is how I had it set up as well. And like I said, in the course, they would give you step by step on how to set that up. And then after you set up your website, you call in suppliers. So these the people that are actually building the podiums. You don't got to do none of that. And I ain't gonna lie, it was another tedious process. If anybody know me in real life, I am shy. So having to call folks on the phone and ask them, could I sell their products? It was a really, really hard thing to do. Like I had the bubble guts, man. I ain't even gonna hold you. But eventually I got over the hump and I was able to call my suppliers. And I got about 9 suppliers at first. And typically when you ask them, can you sell their products, they're gonna say yes. For one, it's more sales for their business. And for two, a lot of the suppliers, they don't like to sell to the public. They'll rather you do it. They just want to focus on making the products. And then let me show you. And these were a lot of the products. When I first started, it took me forever to upload all these products. Like literally, it took me about a month or two because you got to upload the pictures, then you got to fill out the descriptions, and it's unique descriptions. Like everything's different, so that took me forever. But eventually, I was able to get it done. So now this is what September. So like I said, I started May of 2022. From June 2022 to about all the way up to New Year's, really, I guess I was working on like building a website and getting everything set up. So in January 2nd to be exact, I went live. Live means customers can come to your website and they can actually make a purchase. For the whole month of January, I did not get any orders. But let me show y'all. On February 8th, I got my first order. So it's around 10 o'clock at night and I'm like half asleep and I hear this cha-ching sound on my phone. I'm like, what is that? So I look up and it's an order. But keep in mind, I'm half asleep. So I go back to sleep and then I wake up. I'm like, oh shoot, I got an order. So that was my first order on February 8th. And then the next one came on February 10th. And I'm not gonna lie, that was really big for me because it was like proof of concept of like, okay, this can actually work. So February, I got 4 orders. And then just going forward, I just kept getting orders. So let me explain how the marketing works to explain like expenses and numbers and things of that nature. Where I'm at. So let's say I work at a school or something and I want to get a podium for my school or whatnot. I Google podium. So with high ticket dropshipping, you got two main marketing channels you're working with. For one, you got search engine optimization. So that's free. And what search engine optimization is where you set up your website to show up at the top of Google. Think about when you Google something, you're looking at the top result. If not the top result, you might go down to the second, but you're not gonna keep looking to the bottom. You know what I'm saying? You're clicking on the top result. So search engine optimization is setting up your website to where you could be at the top because you get most clicks. That's free. The second is Google Ads. So you can Google will charge you for you to upload your products on their platform. So every time you click when it's on Google Ads, Google will charge you, pay per click. So that's the two main marketing sources. In Google Ads, you're typically gonna spend around 500 to 1,000 a month. So I'm getting orders, but I have the Google Ads, which is making me be in the hole or break even every month. You know what I'm saying? So most of 2023, it was, getting orders, but like I said, I was never able to be consistently profitable because of my Google Ads. And most of my orders were smooth for the most part, but I did have this one order, and it was Miss Jennifer Fontaine. So she bought a podium for $949. So most of the time, when people purchase podiums from me, they would go to my website and they would purchase it through the website. This was the first order that I had where she sent out a check to me. I am not too familiar with how checks work. Now I know, but at the time I didn't. So when I set up my LLC, I set up my LLC before I set up the website. So my LLC was Multi-Store LLC, Money on the Internet Store LLC. It had nothing to do with Podium Stage because, like I said, I set up the LLC first. So when she sent out the check, she sent it out to Podium Stage. And I go to the bank, it's a Friday, I'm feeling good, I'm ready to cash my check. And when I go to cash it, the lady's like, you can't cash this. What is this? And I'm like, Podium Stage is my business. She was like, no, because Multi-Store LLC. And a tax professional can explain this a lot more better than I can. But basically, you have what you call doing business as. And in South Carolina, I don't think you're legally required to have one, so I never registered Podium Stage doing business as. But basically, I had Multi-Store LLC, and the check had Podium Stage, and they would not let me cash it. I'm talking about, I'm in there talking to the big boss. I'm trying to do everything, but I couldn't cash that check. So, luckily, the woman was cool, and she sent me out another check under Multi-Store LLC, but that could have went so left. Like that, you know what I'm saying? She could have been like, nah, this is fake. She could have did anything, but like I said, luckily she was a cool lady and she sent me out another check. And I'm glad that happened because going forward, a lot more customers started paying through check, and I knew to tell them, hey, send this out to Multi-Store LLC. But that was about the only bad order I ever had, I guess you could say, where something happened. Most of my orders, they went by pretty smooth. Like I never had any customer returns or anything. Like I was surprised, but they were pretty smooth. So then we get into 2024, and it's a lot of the same thing. Like I'm getting orders, but I could never get it consistently profitable. And let me show y'all. This another lesson. Make sure you track all your expenses because that's really important. So 2024, I did 37,000 in revenue, but I did 40,000 in expenses. So about 3,000 in the hole. So that was 2023, 2024, and then we get to 2025, and I'm like, okay, I've been had this for 2 years. I can still can't get it profitable, so probably time to turn it to a close. So instead of just shutting it down, not getting nothing out of it, I was like, maybe I could try to sell it. Let me show y'all. So this is the actual Empire Flippers is the actual website where you can go to sell your online businesses. And these are real dropshipping businesses. So you got ones that are making 40,000 a month selling for 1 million, but you also have ones where they're making 3,000 a month, they sell for 72,000. Making 2,000 a month selling for 63,000. Making 1,500 a month selling for 54,000. So online businesses, they sell for a lot. But what have I been saying the whole video? I was not able to get it profitable. So instead of selling off of like a profitable machine, I would have to sell it off of potential. So what you have is people with a lot of money in the online space, they'll rather just buy a business instead of building one from scratch. Remember I told y'all, it took me like 6 months to build this website up. A person with a lot of money that already knows how to work online businesses, they not gonna want to do that. So they'll just buy a business and then just get it rolling from there. So that's what it came to. I had a drop. I was in a drop shipping Facebook group, and I put my business up. I was like, hey, I'm trying to sell this, da 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 da. And the head of the Facebook group, he ended up reaching out to me like he wanted to buy it. So he hit me up. If margins are good, I'll probably take your store. Hey Ben, were you possibly interested in purchasing the site? Yes, if the margins are decent, I'll likely take it. So I sent him this, showing him like, where was that? I sent him this, showing him how much I was making on each order, and it's like the net profit. And he said, I'll take it at 2,000. So I sold it for $2,000. Keep in mind, it was a little bit of a process having to transfer everything from my name to his name, like all the passwords, things of that nature, but it wasn't too bad. But keep in mind, I sold it for 2,000. This is in January 2025. It's the end of October 2025 now. I just reached out to him the other day just to see like what he did with it. And last month he sold it for $25,000. So the next lesson is being knowledgeable in skills. This person, he's been doing drop shipping for 10 years, and he was able to get it profitable and get it going and sell it at a $23,000 profit. I've had the business for 2 years. I can't get profitable at all. So the lesson in this is just learning skills. You get what I'm saying? He knew what to do with it. He knew to make a few tweets and he got it going. And like I said, he was able to make a $23,000 flip in a couple months. That's pretty cool. And just going over like a review of the business, man, it was a lot of fun. I ain't gonna lie. Like I learned a whole lot about marketing. I learned how to talk to your customer. I learned just so much about business. Like the main lesson I tell people is you can't learn how to swim sitting on the edge of the pool. Just jump in the water and just figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Experience is your best teacher. So I did learn a lot with this. And obviously you're in business to make money. And like I said, I wasn't able to get it profitable, so that sucks. But like I said, I was able to learn a lot throughout the process. And if y'all have any questions, just reach out to me. But today I went over my first business and a couple of the lessons that I learned with it. Hope y'all enjoyed my little story and y'all stay blessed.